Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's YPC Media webinar series. Today's webinar is talking about all things consistency in your marketing. I'm Katie Fitzgerald. I'm the Director of Marketing Operations at YPC Media, and I'm joined today by Amaya Britt, one of our account managers. So thanks, Amaya, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And just to go through a couple admin things that I like to call out, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube, typically within 24 hours of it concluding. So make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube page if you're having to hop off early or listening to us through lunch. You can also ask questions in the chat feature, so make sure you utilize that. We may have time at the end that we'll be able to answer those. But I think we're ready to dive right in. You can feel free to connect with myself or Maya. Hopefully, you had enough time to scan those QR codes if you have any questions that you'd want to reach out to us for. So, today's agenda, we're going to be talking about all things marketing consistency, as well as all of these things can be applied to your business in general, of course, because we know consistency is a good road to success. We want to start talking about, too, if you are being consistent, why aren't we seeing results? So we're going to harp on a lot of things today, but we want to actually talk about results because we know that that's a feeling a lot of business owners start feeling of like, I've been at this for 6 months. Where are the results? We also want to figure out how things are working. We want to give you some KPIs, different things to look at as far as how to tell if your stuff's doing good or bad. And then we want to give you some tips for being consistent with all things marketing. So, with that, Amaya, let's get right into why we need to be consistent in our marketing.
Well, yeah, let's hop into it. I'm sure if you are a customer of ours, or even if you just see like things that we're posting or talking about regularly, consistency is a buzzword we use a lot when we're talking about really any of the programs that we use for business owners. It's a huge piece of your marketing. I kind of think of it like the secret sauce. This is what really makes or breaks what you're doing. So let's get into some of the pieces that make up why we're talking about this, why it really matters as a business owner. So the first thing that being consistent does is it builds trust and credibility. When customers see you showing up regularly, whether it's online, whether it's in person, that consistency starts to allow customers to associate your brand with reliability. And bottom line, reliability is going to build trust. So think about, as a business owner, when you're posting consistently, whether that's seasonal reminders, community involvement, over time, customers start to see your content consistently. And in turn, they associate with you and your brand with reliability and credibility. Posting consistently and showing up consistently with your marketing builds that trust and credibility. The second thing that consistency does is it keeps you top of mind. Think about anything that you see as a consumer. You have to see it a couple of times before you make a purchase or before you choose to do business with someone. Part of your marketing is showing up to people, maybe not in the buying moment, but consistently showing up helps you or helps customers choose you when they are ready to buy. So it allows you not to fall off of people's radars. And same thing with current customers. It helps keep you top of mind when they're ready to come back for a repeat purchase or for an additional, product or service that you offer. It helps, just keep that constant stream of communication and keep you top of mind. The third thing it does is it helps you strengthen your brand. So consistency reinforces your message, your visuals, and your voice, making your business instantly recognizable and memorable. A huge piece of your marketing is your branding, but it doesn't really mean anything if it's not showing up consistently and it's not instantly recognizable. So having a steady stream of content that's going out, email marketing, just reinforcing who you and your business are helps that your brand and business be instantly recognizable. Four, it improves customer engagement. So, we all know the more consistent we are with anything, the more our content gets pushed out and the more people are more comfortable interacting with you. Think about a business that you've interacted with online before. If you only see their content once every 6 months, you're probably not going to be likely to interact with it because you don't trust them. It doesn't, encourage an ongoing conversation. Maybe they're not going to see it for another 6 months, or they're not going to, post content again. So having a steady, consistent stream of content, whether that's emails, posts, ads, it just keeps that conversation going and encourages repeat interactions with what you're doing. And then number 5, and arguably the most important, is it helps you maximize your ROI over time. So all of these pieces build on what you're doing and helps you, generate more sales opportunities with your marketing efforts. We talk about this all the time, that marketing is a marathon, not a sprint. So it does work best as a long game. Consistent efforts over time compound. So not only does this help your potential customers, it doesn't, not only does it encourage them to, make repeat purchases or interact with you over time, but it also, helps the algorithm and your data build over time. And in turn, things start to perform better the more consistent you are.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a lot of the pieces. When we say be consistent with your marketing, we mean when you decide to work with a marketing partner like YPC Media, we want you to be consistent with what you're doing, what we're providing, with those things, because it does impact the long run. But if you're posting to your social media channels on your own, you are running Google Ads internally with your team, being consistent in those is going to be what maximizes your ROI. So you're right, that one's definitely the most important, and that's what we wanted to really focus in on. So you can be consistent, and then you kind of get those feelings of, well, where are the results? I've been doing this for how long? What's going on? And I think this is a FAQ you probably get a lot, Amaya, with customers that you're working with. The four most basic questions that we hear all the time are, how long till I see results from this? If you just signed up, you want to know that time frame, or what results should I be looking for? What's considered good? And then even what do I do next? Now I've been doing this, I'm seeing some results. What's next? So we really wanted to take a minute here and break down a couple of the different key categories of digital marketing to, go through these. So Amaya, we talked about the first one being kind of that local SEO. So that means your local listings, your Google business profile. You started working with a marketing company, because we know how a lot of you probably on today's call work with us on that local SEO component. So how long till we see results?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on how saturated your market is. So that's something we'll look at on an initial call. But usually organic efforts take about 90 plus days to see ranking shifts. And that depends, again, just on how saturated your market is. Sometimes we see that happen a little bit more quickly. But in your direct market, if there are, other competitors, if there's other, contractors, insurance agents, PDR techs, it does take about 90 days of consistent activity to really see a good change in your ranking.
Yeah. And then in terms of what results we're looking for, this is where, if you are one of our customers and you're meeting regularly with your account manager, say Amaya is your account manager, the things that she's talking to you about every single month are the results we're looking for. So Amaya, what are the few things you always look at every month with your clients in terms of GBP?
Yeah, it's definitely like how many searches we're showing up for, how many people are interacting with the business. And this isn't always something we're looking at necessarily like year over year. We're looking at it month over month too. Things change in the market super consistently. I mean, we're seeing a huge change in how people are searching, what platforms they're going to. So we're definitely taking those things into account when we're looking at results. But I think it looks different for every business, but it really is interactions across the board, how many searches we're showing up for, and how many of those interactions are turning into good conversations or new opportunities for your team.
Yeah, and one of the things too is we're always looking at the different keywords that are coming up, right? We want to see an increase in discovery searches. So if you guys have been attending your account management calls regularly, you've probably heard those terms of the branded keywords versus the discovery. That's what we want to increase for you, and have you increase over time, especially when consistently showing up in Google. So that's definitely one of the things, but also looking at all the actions looking at the reviews. We want to see increases of those over time. Obviously, with the reviews, you want to see more of them coming in. More 5 stars would be even better, but that frequency we want to see increasing, because at the end of the day, you can come up number one all the time, but we want to see those stats behind it, right? We're not just looking at the impressions. We want to see what is converting, or what's getting people to click over to your website, what gets them to call you, and some of those. So then understanding what to do next from there, optimizing what you're already working on, making sure that all of your products and services are listed. We're talking photo uploads, responding to reviews, updating posts regularly on your Google profile. So those are all things that your account team's working on for you here at YPC if you are on one of our programs for that. But I want to switch into paid ads. So we want to answer these same 4 questions if you're running paid ads. So how long until you see results on paid campaigns?
Yeah, this one's a little bit more exciting because with paid ads, it happens a lot more immediately. So typically with a paid ad, whether that's social media or Google, we start seeing traffic come in really soon. So typically, that those calls are coming in within the first few weeks. Obviously, there's some adjusting that has to happen with anything. So while we're starting to see more activity come through, we typically say that it takes about 3 months for everything to be fully optimized, to make those adjustments, and to also collect enough data. A lot of times, what we'll see is a campaign goes live and we start getting calls come in. But then sometimes, business owners are giving us feedback on the calls, which is always great to have, but we usually don't recommend changing anything. We don't have enough data to do that. So there's small adjustments that we make in those beginning stages, but making sure that we're giving it enough time to collect the data we need to adjust things. So typically about 3 months to get everything fully optimized with a paid ad.
Yeah, and usually we see, within that first week of setup, right? Now we're getting into, let's talk about algorithms and learning phases and all of those things that do unfortunately take a bit of time. We see lots of different results coming in, but what should you be looking for on a paid ad campaign, right? We're looking at click-through rate typically. We're looking at cost per click always right away, right? Because we want to know how much we paid for that. But then we want to look at conversion. So how many actually came over to the website, made the phone call, and what did they do with that? Did they complete the form? How long were they on the phone with you for? What did that look like? So a lot of the time when we're reviewing this campaign, you want to really dive beyond just what you're seeing available in Google, right? You need to look at those additional KPIs on top of that to really get back to what's your cost per lead. Because when we talk about what's good, we want to really look at, well, what's that target cost per lead? Because at the end of the day, any marketing company, or even if you try to run some campaigns on your own, you could get really low cost per clicks, right? But they're not always the best. And it actually goes into, Amaya, we got a question in the chat was along the lines of if you're not getting the types of calls that you want. Especially in paid campaigns, the way to really look through these is looking at your keywords. Where are the most clicks coming from? How are those wrong calls getting in, and really going into that? But that stuff happens over time, which is why we say like consistency in this is going to pay off in the long run. If you do it for 1 month, there's not really enough data for us to turn off keywords, turn on new ones, and those types of things. Because when we're looking at what's good, you may be getting an increase of phone calls that you don't want, but the whole program's still profitable at the end of the day, right? We're looking at that overall cost, the whole entire investment was a positive ROI. So understanding what's good in that is meeting or beating that target cost per lead. So understanding that upfront is going to be really important. And then with consistency, with fine tuning of campaigns, that stuff will happen over time. But knowing what to do next, once you kind of start getting to the point of, okay, I've been doing this a few months, I'm seeing consistent stats now. We're getting the same amount of phone calls, same amount of website views on paid campaigns. Now let's look at getting rid of some of those low performers, or what are those keywords that are bringing in the wrong type of calls or the wrong type of leads for your business. And let's start weeding that out once we kind of get that generic baseline. I just talked to, did you have any other notes, Maya, on paid ads there?
No, I think that's right on point. It's
Yeah.
definitely a data game. We don't want to hurt something that could work in the long run. The market is always changing, competition looks different, keyword activity looks different, and the intent of a user, I think this is a lot of the maybe the unknown is when people are searching on Google, we might see a keyword that's bringing in some service calls. We might see that or bringing in the wrong intent. We might see some keyword or that same keyword bringing in sales opportunities too. So
Yeah.
some of it does take time to collect that data and figure out, is it worth it to keep it? Is it worth it to get rid of it? But we can't confidently make that decision until we have enough data.
Right. Yeah, and then I want to roll through too, because we're already halfway through the webinar, Maya, but we wanted to talk about social media. So all social media content and posting, it's a very hot topic right now, but how long till you see results? Again, we could probably talk for another hour and a half on algorithms, especially when we talk about Facebook. I've already heard from two clients this week that they absolutely hate Facebook's algorithm. But when we look at, how long till you see results when you're consistently posting? Um, it can happen right away that you see a lot of engagement because of the algorithm and how it's working. But then you always have that one post that does really well, then you have one that does terrible, one that does well. It seems to be a cycle that you go through. But that's why we say it takes really months for brands to see, brand awareness lifts, traffic increases with social media content. But that long game, it does pay off because we do see a lot more brand awareness. We see a lot more community engagement on those channels. So looking at likes, comments, and shares, your audience growth, how many clicks are coming. All the social media channels provide really good reporting for all of that. So really paying attention to that. Don't just send the content out and then never look at what's happening. So as far as what's good, we want to see that good post, bad post, good post, bad post, even out. That's really how you know when the consistency is starting to pay out. We're seeing, okay, now I'm getting the same amount of views around each time. And then as far as what to do next from there, once you start seeing that steady increase, we're going to start trialing out different types of posts. Try to drive more engagement on those, ask people questions, get things that get them to like, comment, and share your information. So this definitely was a huge part of what we wanted to talk about today. But Amaya, in terms of consistency with marketing programs, we wanted to show some proof, right? We wanted to give you guys some screenshots today to show some of these different things and just address again some of the changes that we've been seeing. So one of the biggest things is I know a lot of people have seen dips in their Google searches. And one of the reasons is people are showing up in AI overviews, and these are not reported on from Google. We don't see these stats. It's not available yet. So if someone is seeing it and they're clicking off from the AI overview, you don't get reporting on those numbers. So it's a big mystery game right now. And again, this is specific to Google, but we wanted to show some clients that have been with us for a long time and how being consistent with their listings, being consistent with their Google profiles on their programs with us has paid off in AI searches. So you can see on the left, we had a search for home and auto insurance, and one of our customers is showing up in there. Reason they're not probably showing up, number one, is you can see there's a lot of agents in that area. Some of them have 5 stars that are showing up above them, but in regular search down at the bottom, they're number one that's showing up. And then on the right, we have one of our detailing customers that is showing up first in the map pack, showing up first in basic search, but they're the only business that's being recommended in the AI overview too. So definitely something not to count out. But I know a lot of business owners feel that urge to try to search themselves, right? Search your business and get a pulse check on how you're coming up for different keywords and things like that. You can see the searches that were done here are more of how people are searching now, right? They're either talking into Google, they're talking into their chat GPTs, their long form. It's no longer just car detail near me. They're starting to be more conversational searches. So just something we wanted to show with that. And then Maya, you had shared to one of our customers for Google Stats. So if you could point out a few of the things here.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is an insurance agent that's worked with us for about 2 years. So the really cool thing that I wanted to preface before we even look at stats is that we were working on their SEO with the year prior. So Google, you'll see kind of in the bottom below the stats, it shows us year over year how that performance looks. I think this really just speaks to the point that marketing efforts compound over time. So it's important to be consistent. Could have easily had this insurance agent say, listen, the results are great. Let's just, move on to something different. Let's stop doing this. It'll just, keep running for itself. But it's really important to consistently keep doing what you're doing. Because even though the results are great, they can be even better the year after. So this is a 6-month time frame. We're seeing really good increases, not only in how many searches we're showing up for, but also in people interacting with us. So that goes to show the algorithms and the information that we're inputting on the back end is scanning. And in turn showing this insurance agent at the top and showing up for more searches. But we're also adding stuff that's customer facing, whether that's more reviews, posting consistently, that in turn is driving more interactions to the business as well. So great stats year
Yeah.
over year.
And then I'm going to kind of breeze by this, but this was one of our Google ads looking at, a year over year, 6-month period, showing how click-through rate was a big focus, looking at that, but also looking at increase of phone calls, increase of conversions, being able to compare that data year over year is super, super important, but then really looking at what is the actual piece that we want to do. And the reason we loved looking at this account was it's not just the phone calls and the clicks that increased. We actually worked on getting a better conversion rate, getting a better click-through rate on those ads. So all those things matter outside of just, what you paid for that initial click from there. So I know, Amaya, one of the things that we see naturally is that there's a lot of digital marketing companies out there, and there's always that shiny object that different people have, and changing that. But we wanted to talk through if you're frequently changing your marketing companies or changing your strategy, what is really impacted when that happens.
Yeah, there's definitely, like Katie said, a lot of other companies out there. There's a lot of things to consider when switching companies or even, like brainstorming different ideas. The biggest thing that we're losing is a lack of strategy. So constantly switching providers, it disrupts long-term planning. Each new company wants to put their stamp on things. They do things the way that they do it. And this means, constantly restarting the program that you're on. So long-term planning goes out the window. If a business, think about it this way, like if you as a business owner switch providers 3 times a year, you've had 3 different ad strategies, 3 different website changes, or 3 entirely different websites altogether, and 3 different messaging approaches, instead of just building a solid long-term plan, understanding timeframes and expectations, and building on that over time. You're just constantly stuck in that restart phase. We lose historical data. Data is huge in what we do, whether that's an ad strategy, SEO, a website. Every campaign builds data, and that's how things perform better over time. And most times, agencies are not transferring that data for you. So, one, you're losing all of that reporting as a business owner, and 2, the algorithms are always starting from scratch and rebuilding data, which impacts overall performance. And then obviously wasted budget. If you're going through continuous restart and learning phases, you're losing that data, you're wasting money, just getting everything restarted every single time. Disrupted SEO and ad performance. We all know that we talked about those expectations and timeframes, some as long as 90 days. If you're changing companies too frequently, you're losing 90 days of activity to just a learning phase. And then confusion for customers, the trust and credibility that we talked about at the beginning, that your brand recognition builds, is if it's constantly changing, you're completely losing that for potential customers.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. If you're already frustrated with the algorithms, starting over with a new marketing company is going to set you back in that. And a lot of the marketing companies out there are seeing a lot of the same things that we're probably saying too. So it's important to get that strategy and set it and and go for it. You know, really put all your time and energy to that partnership that you create and move forward in that direction. So we've talked a lot about all the different areas, and we really want to dive in now, Amaya, to the areas that we feel like are most important to be consistent with as far as your marketing is concerned.
Yeah, yeah. You guys all know now why consistency is important. So here's some key areas, like Katie said, that we think are, the best places to start being consistent. So first is SEO. This is a lot of what we've talked about today. But making sure that every single piece of content you post, whether this is website pages, frequently asked questions, blog posts, social media, making sure that it all is consistent. Over time, those pieces create search equity and it makes it easier for people to find you online. So create content that's relevant and consistent to your business. Another good place to start getting consistent is with email. Email is not dead. Everyone still uses email. It's a great way to reach out to customers. And a really nice thing about email is that it's a direct line to your customers versus relying on like that Facebook algorithm that we talked about that takes time to get in front of people. We know email is a direct line to your customers. So, think about sending monthly or bi-weekly newsletters just to keep that constant stream of communication for repeat interactions or for leads that haven't converted. It just keeps you top of mind. And then social media content, this is definitely where your brand personality has a chance to shine and differentiate you from the competition. So consistent posting builds community. It builds that brand recognition that's so important. So people instantly recognize you when they see your content. And in turn, like we've talked about, consistent posting is driving that engagement over time. And then networking, this is something we do a ton of here, but going to local events, joining groups, consistently showing up in person builds that rapport. It nurtures, different relationships in your community directly. So it's a great way to be consistent for your brand. And then review generation. We all know how important reviews are. A steady stream of positive reviews makes a huge impact on your online reputation and conversion rates. And no matter how you're outreaching to your customers, I would say like 95% of them are going to read your reviews before they decide for 100% certainty to work with you. So having a consistent stream of reviews helps improve those conversion rates. It also helps show you higher on Google's algorithm. In turn, just drives more interaction to your business.
Yeah, all of these are really important. So here at YPC, we can help you with your SEO, we can help you with social content, and review generation. We obviously can't help you with networking, being in person. But one of the areas that we haven't been able to help our customers before has been email. So one of the things we wanted to use today's webinar to announce is our new email newsletter program here at YPC Media. So it's called our Monthly Momentum Program. We're going to be setting up a monthly newsletter that can go out to all of your contacts that you have. Like Amaya already said, it's a great way to reach out to your current client base, let them know you're there, make sure that you have upsell opportunities, repeat business, and just continuing to build a relationship with people that have already worked with you. Again, a great place to ask for reviews. I think it would be crazy if anyone here had every single one of their customers that have given them a review. So it's a great place to do that. And like Amaya said, email's not dead. There's actually stats out there saying that every $36 or every dollar that you spend on email marketing earns you $36. It's a really great lifeline to your customers. Again, that direct access to their inbox. So our program is starting at $400 a month. We're going to be partnering with MailChimp, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of before. So based on how many contacts that you have with your business would determine your program amount. So this is something that you can talk to your account manager with. If you don't currently work with YPC Media, feel free to join our Facebook group here. I'll leave this up for a minute to scan to join our Facebook group. It's a great way to connect with our team here at YPC. You can feel free to reach directly out to Amaya or myself, and we'll be able to talk you through more of that. But if you're interested in any other areas beyond that, in terms of getting consistent about your marketing, talk to your account managers. about some of the different programs that we offer. So again, join our Facebook group, check out our website. If you go to ypcmedia.com/webinars, we have our webinar for next month already up there. So you can go ahead and register for that. We're going to be talking about what exclusive marketing means. So make sure you register for those and get access to all of the rest of the webinars for this year. So Maya, thank you for joining me today. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you all next time.